In today's video, we're going to talk about benzodiazepine medications and the conversation doctors ought to have with patients before taking these medications. Stay tuned, I think you'll find this helpful. Hello there everyone, welcome back to The Lovely Grind. My name is Michael Preby and my website's lovelygrind.com. I hope you'll go there and find out how to connect with me in coaching and check out my blog posts and my courses. And I welcome you back to my YouTube channel and to today's video, which is about benzodiazepine medications such as Xanax and Klonopin and the conversation doctors ought to have with people before taking these medications and while they're on these medications. So I myself was on a benzo medication, Xanax, for quite some time. I began taking that in 1999 and all the way up through early 2014, so a good number of years. And that was a prescription for me that began as 0.25 milligrams as needed for acute panic, and over the years increased to 4 milligrams each and every day. And honestly, I was taking more than that a lot of days because I was so dependent on those medications. And that's part of what we're going to talk about in this video, is the dependence that creeps in. So what was the conversation that the doctor who prescribed these medications for me in the first place had with me regarding them? It wasn't a big one. It was a very brief conversation. He prescribed me Paxil and Xanax and said these things would help me to mitigate anxiety and finish my senior year of college, and that was about that. And as the years progressed, I saw a couple different doctors, one of whom kept upping the prescription for me, and I must admit at times that was because I asked him to. I did actually have one very good doctor as well, though, who urged me to take a deeper look at my issues and find a way to solve my issues without medications and to move in a different direction. But at the time, I wasn't ready to hear that. But what he said to me when I broke down in his office one day, this good doctor, what he said to me sticks in my mind to this day. Because at the time, I was crying and breaking down and telling him how I couldn't eat and I couldn't sleep and my anxiety was through the roof and I just needed more medication. And he was obviously shaken by that because he seemed to be a caring man, and he talked to me about counseling and diet and exercise and so forth. But by this point, I was already in the grips of these benzo medications and just wanted the quick solution of more. So what's the conversation doctors should have? I think the first part of it, which I talked about in a previous video on antidepressants as well, is the potential downsides of these medications. I mean, yes, benzos do work in the short term. Anyone who's taken them can tell you, if you're feeling super anxious, they will calm you down. That's the potential benefit. If used perfectly in a perfect world, maybe there'd never be any potential downsides, but there are potential downsides, and one of them is side effects. Those side effects can include things like fatigue, but also rebound anxiety and depression that people don't understand as the medications wear off. And that needs to be a part of the conversation, as well as the dependence I mentioned a while ago and that I've talked about in other videos. There's a physical dependence there. The amount a person used to take over time just doesn't do what it used to do. So you need more and more and more to get the same calming effect. And in addition to that, and just as insidiously, is the psychological dependence that builds in the psyche of a person who's taking these medications. For me, that took the form of thinking I couldn't do anything without them on my own. I couldn't socialize without them. I couldn't work without them. I couldn't drive without them. I couldn't handle a difficult moment without them. And on and on and on it went. It's a real feeling of powerlessness over time. And this all adds up to more and more of the medication and an erosion of confidence and self-esteem, and usually reluctance to work on other coping skills because you've come to rely solely on the medications to do the job for you of reducing the anxiety. So that's the first part of the conversation. You can list the potential pros, but then also list the potential cons. Now, another part of that conversation should be, just as I mentioned in the antidepressant video, an exit plan. And maybe some of you are working on that right now, but maybe it's not part of the conversation you initially had with your doctor or even having with your doctor now, but a decision you came to. I didn't have that conversation with my doctor. These medications, antidepressants and benzos, in a perfect world, if they were going to be used, it should be short term to get people through very difficult times and should be part of a larger holistic healing and care picture. Whether it's because of anxiety or depression or loss, whether it's because of stress or insomnia, a person could perhaps use these medications very short term as part of a bigger picture that's going to include holistic measures such as counseling and exercise and diet and mindset work and spiritual guidance and so forth. But then there has to be an exit plan. And that should be discussed right from the first doctor's visit. Okay, we're looking at maybe you using these for the next 3 months as part of a bigger package to survive this period and turn a new chapter. And once that 3 months is up, here's the plan for tapering. Here's how long it's going to take and how we're going to do it so that you're off of these things and free and clear. That would be a very common sense and hopeful way to talk to someone about these medications. And at the same time, there should be a mention of potential withdrawal effects that might occur as they're getting off. And I think the potential for those withdrawal effects get greater and greater the longer a person's on any of these medications, antidepressants or benzos. But that should be talked about the first visit. In the name of informed consent, here are some potential side effects. Here are some potential dependence issues. Here's some potential withdrawal effects that might occur when you get off these medications after a specified time frame for use. And those withdrawal effects, they would feel a little less scary if you knew they were coming. If you had information on how to taper, they'd be a little less severe. But in any event, when you're first going into a doctor's office to learn about these medications and make a decision on taking them, there ought to be this multifaceted conversation that presents a realistic picture of what these medications entail, and not just the potential benefit, which is usually the only small conversation that's had. These are going to make you feel better, but also the potential downsides, the side effects, the withdrawal effects, the dependence issues. Then a person can make a decision. Now, if you're someone who's already on these medications or tapering them, as many of you might be, or who are working through an ongoing healing process after having gotten off of them, the good news is that those holistic measures that I mentioned that should have been a part of the package earlier on when a person was trying to grapple with anxiety or panic or whatever the issue was, those same things can help a person to heal from this whole mess and to cope during withdrawal. The exercise, the diet, the emotional support and counseling, the stress mitigation, all these holistic and sustainable ways to bring about rebalancing and a strengthening of the system, just as they would help the underlying issue with anxiety back in the day or even now, they'll help with the withdrawal sensitivities and the atrophied neurochemical systems and the imbalanced nervous system and so forth. So a lot of times a person can feel very powerless, but there are some things in a person's control in this process and they count for a lot. My name's Michael Preby. My website's lovelygrind.com. Again, go there to find out information about my coaching and courses, my membership area. Check out my blog posts. If you like this video, click thumbs up, subscribe, and share. And until next time, please remember to take care of yourself and your dreams.